Welcome to the League of Women Voters of the Ripon Area Candidate Forum. Both mayoral candidates were invited to participate, and we are delighted to have both here tonight under challenging circumstances. Thank you for attending, and thank you both for running for public office. This forum is unusual for us as there is no audience except Andy and me. Questions were solicited beforehand via local and social media. Thank you to those who submitted questions. The questions have been electronically screened by League members to ensure questions may be answered by both candidates. Before we begin with the program, I want to encourage https://myvote.wi.gov, and that graphic will be on the screen for those of you at home. It will also be available on the League of Women Voters of the Ripon Area Facebook page. Use your driver's license number to register as a voter or as a means of photo identification for an absentee ballot. This is an important election as it is both nonpartisan and partisan. We have elections such as this one for mayor, school board, city council, county board, Wisconsin Supreme Court, as well as Wisconsin's presidential primary. Remember, for the presidential primary, you choose one party and vote within that party. As the League of Women Voters begins its second century, we find ourselves adapting to the same social and medical challenges that we all face. We are running tonight with a skeleton crew, and we thank Riley Eisnagel and his team for their dedication to bring you, the voter, this information. This forum, again, while live, is being taped and will be replayed several times on the Ripon Cable Access channel, as well as available on YouTube. This session will provide the voters of Ripon information on each of the candidates, allowing you to make informed choices. The candidates have drawn for position and will present in the order drawn. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for opening remarks, up to 2 minutes to answer each question, and closing remarks will be limited to 1 minute. The lead will change following opening remarks through closing remarks. And Doug Iverson won the pointing at the numbers. And so we will begin with Doug.
Hello, I am Douglas Iverson. I currently in Ripon for District 4 for the residents in that district. I've served for the last 4 years on the Ripon Public Library, the Ripon Area Fire District Board of Directors, and currently I'm on the Department of Public Works Committee. I attend numerous seminars and conferences related to how the city works, from TID creation and closing to getting people together in the community to road building. So I think that I am the best candidate for this job. Thank you.
Okie doke.
My wife, Sarah, and I own Grants here in downtown Ripon, where we provide packaging and shipping services, mail receiving and processing, office supply sales, printing, e-waste recycling, cardboard and paper product recycling, and more. I'm also the treasurer for the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, Local 470, a trade union for technical workers in the entertainment industry. I have held or currently hold other leadership positions within that union as well. I'm currently on the board of directors for the Business Improvement District for downtown Ripon, and I am on the board of trustees for Ripon Public Library. For the last 5 years, I have held the position of either vice president or president on the library board. As mayor, I will work to increase the efficiency of local government, to both reduce the cost of operations and lower energy usage of the city, which will, like services are reduced. With more efficiency, I would improve the services that we currently offer and possibly restore some that we have with tight budgets. In my own business, I have implemented many steps to reduce energy usage and operating costs. Also, as mayor, I will work to increase the number of businesses in Ripon that will include retail, manufacturing, and service businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. We will begin with our question portion. Again, as we discussed earlier, if you need it repeated, let me know. If you need clarification, I'll try to clarify as best I can. We'll work through it together. So because Doug began, the first question will start with Ted. They will both answer the same question. What is your vision for Ripon, and how do you, as mayor, feel you can make that vision a reality?
Well, like I stated, I would work to increase business in Ripon to help improve the economic situation for everyone that's here. I would work with the Chamber of Commerce, Ripon Main Street, and other business groups to encourage and recruit new businesses. And that would include the retail, some small and medium manufacturing and service businesses. I would also try to develop community events and so on to encourage local people to participate and just have a strong sense of community. I feel Ripon already does have that strong sense of community, but could always make it stronger and bring the community together even more.
Thank you. Doug?
Thank you. I would actually work on filling up the industrial park. There's vacant land there. I would work on getting some more industry over there. I would honestly try to get more people to build houses here. There's a couple in Sandemar that are being built, and there's a few around the city. I would work on that. Main Street does a fine job of doing stuff downtown. The Chamber does a fine job. In any way that I could support, I would do that. I would go out and meet anybody who wants to come and build in Ripon, open a business. I would certainly be willing to meet with them and show them around town. This is a great community. The best people in this community are its own, they're the best ambassadors. It's a great community. We work together pretty well. Honestly, just hard, slow work, just meeting people, encouraging them to come to Ripon to live and to work. We have a housing shortage here. I know that. So I would encourage builders to come to Ripon, build houses here, and just become part of the community. I would show them all around the town. This is a great city. I love it.
Okay. I'm going to go to the next question. It's very long. So if you need me to repeat it, let me know. Doug, we're going to start with you. I'm going to make a note because I came up with another question based on what you were saying. Okay. The second question, Doug. Having Ripon College as a member of the community benefits Ripon in numerous ways. Ripon College, however, is struggling to remain viable. Should the city be in talks with the administration at Ripon College to discuss ways the city can assist it in its efforts to remain a vital component of the city's future?
I'm going to break the bad news to you all. The city has no money to do that. I would certainly be willing to meet with anybody to encourage them to come to the college, to donate money to the college. The city has no money to advertise, to loan, or to give Ripon College. I'm sorry, that's the bad news. The good news is the town needs you, and they're an untapped resource for the college to boost enrollment. Honestly, I wish when I was an undergrad that I had come to Ripon College I might have come here. I like this community. It's nice to be right downtown, and there's shops and there's businesses to visit. There's always something to do in the city, at the library, at the college. It's a great resource for everybody to mingle together and do things with. I would do whatever I could to help boost the college.
Okay, Ted.
Well, while I agree with Doug that the city does have very limited funds to work with and that financial support to the college is probably not likely, I, for many years, have felt that the college and the community could definitely work together more than they do. We could work with the college to form a plan that might save them some money in operations by integrating some of their services with the city. Because from what I've seen, the last few years have been an improvement, but for many, many years, the college has always seemed to be tried to keep to themselves and not tried to integrate too much with the community. The last few years, I have seen some improvement, and I think we could definitely improve it some more, and that may certainly save them some money and keep them viable for longer.
Okay, Ted, you're gonna take the next question. What role do you think Ripon's mayor should have during the pandemic? How can you as mayor help us weather the challenge?
Well, as the mayor, I think for an issue such as this, the role of mayor would be more of just an assurance to the community, someone that can get messaging out. That messaging would most likely be generated more at a county or state or federal level, but the mayor certainly can bring that message to the community and just assure people that we will get through this. The city itself doesn't really have the ability or the infrastructure to deal with the medical crisis itself, but we can definitely reassure people, help them get through it, both physically and mentally. But really all the action, I feel, has to come from a higher level. The mayor would just facilitate it.
Doug?
Thank you. Under state law, the mayor is the chief executive officer of the city. As mayor, I would, first of all, I would eliminate late fees for city utility bills. Second, I would automatically extend payment plans for all those people who need it. Second, I would talk to our police chief about issuing different guidelines for tickets and fees to see if we can slow that down. And I know we're not a big ticket writing jurisdiction, but I would talk to him and see what we could do for that. Third, I would talk to the municipal court judge and see if there's a way for Ripon residents to have lower fines when they are found guilty of a traffic or ordinance violation. And I would see that they get extended time to pay off those fees and fines. Lastly, I would also work with the municipal court judge to see if there's a way that those people who do not currently have licenses because of fines or whatever, those can be reduced or worked out so they can get their driver's license back. Thank you.
Okay. Doug, this is another long one. I think you're in the rotation for the long ones.
That's fine.
Alliance Laundry Systems is a major employer and taxpayer in the city. What specific actions can the city take to ensure that Alliance, as well as other large businesses, can be retained and continue to view Ripon as their home?
Well, a few years ago, we created the TID district for Alliance Laundry out in the industrial park so that they could put that huge warehouse up. So that's one thing we've done. We are trying to position ourselves as a city, especially in the last 3 or 4 years. We've stepped up and we've helped them out. Time will tell what we can do in the future, but that's what we've done. We're going to continue to work with Alliance as best we can.
Ed?
I would say in addition to the TID funding, one thing that we could do for Alliance or any business in town is grow the support businesses that Ripon does offer. If there is a need that a large corporation has for whether it's one of their own suppliers or just access and labor force, just growing the population of Ripon will expand the labor force. Growing the services that we offer will make it more inviting for businesses to come in. So the more we grow, the more we can offer, and the more people will want to come and place their businesses here.
Hey, you're going to get a long one now. And it's has a lot of moving parts, so we can break it down if you want. Please share your thoughts on government transparency. Everybody's in favor of government transparency, but this is where we're going to drill down. Should the city be more transparent in its budgeting document? For example, in the 5-year capital improvement plan, would it be useful for folks to know if the funds are fee-based, property tax-based, grant-based, shared revenue, et cetera, instead of how it currently is written, which is Fund 10, Fund 52, Fund this, Fund that? That's the question.
Well, I absolutely would say that when publishing the budget, that is should explain where the money is coming from, whether that's a new fee created or if it's just part of the current tax roll, or if we are raising taxes in order to cover that expense. And absolutely that should be noted on every new expenditure that's in the budget.
Well, what about existing expenditures?
For
Because you have a budget, you have your operating budget,
right.
and you have your 5-year capital improvement plan.
I think everything in that plan should have a notation as to how it's being funded. And if a citizen were to inquire about what that funding is, if it's already an existing budget, then we should definitely be able to offer the truthful answer as to how we're paying for it.
Okie doke. Doug?
I believe we mostly already do that. But there seems to be two parts of this question about how we're paying for the capital improvements. We don't have a capital improvement fund. It's empty, essentially empty.
I'm talking about the 5-year capital improvement plan.
That changes year to year.
Yes, I
depending
understand that.
What we're going to try to fund that year.
Correct.
It drives me crazy. We don't have a capital improvement fund, so we can say 3 years now we're going to pay for this, and this is where the fund's going to come from. We don't even know because our revenue is so choked by the state. So a difficult document to understand. It does take quite a bit of time trying to understand it, but part of it, that's the way it has to be. The accounting standard has to be. So it's supposed to be transparent, and I get it. It is difficult to read. I would keep working on it, and there are other communities that do a bit better job. I would keep working on it and try to improve it.
Okie dokie. Relatively hard time finding candidates to run for seats on city council. I think that was an issue this year too. In addition, often at election time, there are uncontested seats. Should the city consider changing the composition of city council by having several at-large seats as a way to attract additional candidates?
Yes, I was in favor of that when it came before the council a couple years ago. Either half should be at large or all of them at large, but it didn't go anywhere. It does take some time to implement that ordinance change. I was for it because there are plenty of times when a council person moves in the city, they're not in their district anymore, so they're off the council. And then it takes 2 or 3 months to choose someone to fill up that spot until the next election. I'm for it. I think it would be a great idea. I think it might get more people involved in local government.
Thank you. Ted?
I would be in favor of having an at-large position. The current makeup right now is 2 aldermen from each district. I would like to see it where one must be from the district and the second could be an at-large position.
Great. Thank you. Okay, Ted. In reviewing the 2020 operating budget for the city of Ripon, it is noted that there is a 13% plus increase in health insurance costs. As the mayor, what options are available for potential savings? Would you consider an employee clinic with prevention and wellness as a primary focus?
I don't know if it would be a primary focus, but it should definitely be a consideration. I know a lot of large corporations have their own, whether it's doctor on staff or at least a nurse on staff that can deal with a lot of the smaller problems. And I know for those corporations, it lowers the overall health insurance bill substantially. And if that's an option that we could start with, that's an excellent way to go. As mayor, I would try to work with other communities and counties and state level to possibly have city employees be able to be covered under kind of a side branch of the existing Badger Care system, which is a Medicaid system. That way, the city and municipal employees could basically buy in. It wouldn't be like the Medicaid system where it's just income-based, municipal workers, and that would definitely have to be a state compilation of all the small communities trying to put it together. But I would work with other communities to try to push that, because I know the Badger Care system is far less expensive to operate than the private health insurance system. And that could be a large savings for all the cities and towns in the state.
Doug, do you need me to repeat?
No, I heard it.
Okay.
4 years on the council, we've looked at almost all those solutions. They don't work out for various reasons. I didn't realize it was 13% increase. I thought it was about 6. So maybe that's taking into account the total, but what we do is we take the premiums and we put it back into a special fund for the employees. So maybe it was only 6% that the city's
Are
paying
you
out.
self-funded?
We go with a carrier, and what they do is if we don't shop around, they give us a discount. Okay, so, but it might be that if we do shop around, we'll lose that discount with who we have, and it'll cost us more. And we might not find anybody cheaper. That's a pretty big sizable risk, but we've tried. We've looked to it, and it was going to cost us more than what we're paying now. We really dug in to try to keep those healthcare costs down. And some of this other stuff, this Medicare, Medicaid stuff, I don't even think it might not even be possible for us. Thank you.
Okay. Doug, you're going to take this first one. Do you think our Main Street downtown and or the Chamber of Commerce and the overall business community is healthy? Let's take this whole pandemic thing out. Let's take the whole pandemic thing out right now. And that never happened. So pre-pandemic, do you think our Main Street downtown and the Chamber of Commerce and the overall business community is as healthy as and successful as it could be? What changes, if any, would you support?
Prior to this pandemic, and we can't eat in a restaurant, we have to do takeout and all this. I think over the last decade, it had radically improved, especially in the last 2 or 3 years. There's lots of storefronts that are full of shoppers and businesses. And I know the paper's moving downtown pretty soon. I think it was going gangbusters. I think Main Street was doing a very fine job marketing. And I know there's still a few empty spaces that are for, I think it's doing really well. And so as mayor, I would just keep supporting that as best we could. I'm always looking for things to help the city.
Ted?
I definitely agree that in the last few years, downtown had certainly been on an upward trend, more storefronts being filled, a lot of remodeling projects, so the stores that are there are looking nicer. There are still some issues, and I know Main Street and Chamber of Commerce are certainly working on those. Now with the pandemic, we'll have to work even harder, because unfortunately I feel we're probably going to lose a few of the businesses that are there. I really hope that's not the case, but it might most likely will be. But it certainly was on an upward trend. The city's looking nicer. The projects that Main Street is working on to beautify the downtown are looking nice. And it's not just Watson Street, it's the Blackburn and the connecting streets between. So the Main Street area is bigger than most people think, because I know a lot of people expect that's just Watson Street, but it is the whole downtown area that benefits from Main Street and the bid district.
Okay, so let's take, I know you've touched, I think Doug touched on this a little bit earlier. So let's take that same question and lay the pandemic on it. You've touched on it a little bit with that and losing some businesses. So let's touch on the pandemic. We have businesses. My business is non-essential. You're essential. A lot of businesses downtown are non-essential. We're coming off first quarter that most retail businesses don't do well because it's after the holidays and before taxes. So Ted, we're gonna start with you on this, and then we'll go to Doug. So let's lay the pandemic over it and say that businesses are closed for a minimum of four weeks. As mayor, what would you do? And I know, as I said before, Doug has already alluded to some of the things that he would propose. Let's go over that. Doug can go over that again. What would you do?
Well, certainly in the short term, if you have the means to support the local restaurants that are still doing the curbside pickups and deliveries, please support them. And the businesses that can remain open. For the ones that can't remain open, banks have sent out some notices that they're receiving extra funding to provide short-term loans. Loans need to be paid back, so it's just kind of for those that are fully closed down, it's going to be a long, hard month. And once the time where you can open back up comes around, it's going to take a community effort to really support those businesses, especially the ones that don't qualify for the loans, or even if they do qualify for them, have to wait a month or two for the funding to come through. So it's really going to take a community effort to support those businesses, and now more than ever, shop locally. If you have the option to buy it on Amazon, but there is a store in town that's still selling it, please buy it in town. Support your local businesses.
Thank you. Doug?
Can you repeat the question, Ellen?
I just made it up, so I'll try. Short-term memory issues. Let's say it's the previous question. Do you think our Main Street, downtown, and Chamber of Commerce and overall business community is as healthy, as successful as it could be? This is the pre-pandemic question. Now we're laying a layer of a 4-week shutdown for all non-essential businesses as a result of the pandemic. What changes, if any, would you support? You alluded to it earlier in I think almost the first question in the forum.
Yes, as mayor, I would suspend late fees for city utility payments. I would offer, these are concrete things. I would offer payment plan for, say, 3 months. I'm sorry, I don't think I would be able to cancel the utility bills even if I had the authority, because I think that would really mess up our water utility. It's an enterprise fund, and it depends on that revenue coming in to grow and to be able to provide good service and replace mains and such. So I wouldn't be able to do that, but I would talk to the police chief about changing maybe guidelines, who gets tickets and ordinance violations, talking to our municipal court. These are concrete things. And honestly, as mayor, you don't have a lot of power to do things. You have maybe the ability to get out in public and encourage people to go and shop down there. Obviously, I would do that because I live here. I love this place. So I would do that. I would be happy to go around to all the merchants and encourage people to go in. Concrete things, these are what I would do. Thank you.
Okay, and I want to explain enterprise fund for our viewers. An enterprise fund is self-contained. It is not dependent upon property tax levy. It is a self-contained revenue and expenditure. It's almost like a mini business. I shouldn't even use the term business within the context of government, but that's what it is. So Doug is alluding to the fact that yes, you can't waive that, because then that business, for lack of a better term, doesn't have its revenue coming in. But that utility is not property tax dependent. So your property taxes don't support it. So Doug, you get the next question, and it is the biggest question, the longest question. So this is what we're going to do. There is a push statewide and even nationally to change how voting districts are drawn. The criticism is that gerrymandered redistricting, which favors the political power in office when the maps are drawn, is unfair, undemocratic, and perhaps unconstitutional. In Wisconsin, many municipalities have passed advisory resolutions supporting the creation of a nonpartisan state redistricting process, perhaps modeled after the one in Iowa. Are you in favor of fair maps? Please explain your position on this.
My wife will tell you that I have complained about this for a long time. I think these districts should be redrawn so that it has a fairly well-represented mix of those who vote one party as opposed to the other. I think that makes better government when there's enough in play there. So those politicians, they just can't count on a win. They have to earn it. They have to go out and come up with a plan that maybe isn't too far one way or the other, that most people on both sides would support. I don't see that here. And I know a couple of years ago, Fond du Lac County passed a resolution that they wanted these maps to be drawn more fairly. I'm for that. I think it makes better government. I really do.
Thank you, Ted.
I agree that they should definitely be redrawn. However, I disagree with redrawing them, taking any political stance of the residents into effect. It should be a completely neutral party that's drawing the lines, and it should be more of a grid-based system supported by population numbers.
The Iowa model is nonpartisan.
Right.
Right.
But I know some states have drawn them where it's as close to a rectangle as possible for your district.
Oh, okay.
So it's just a geographical line. You don't consider if people in that square are Republican, Democrat, anything. You just draw it by population density and try to keep it as neutral as possible. But definitely stop the gerrymandering.
Okay, thank you. Ted, we're going to begin with you. The city of Ripon currently pays taxes for two 911 systems, the PSAP in Fond du Lac and the dispatch center here in Ripon. Are you in favor of this arrangement? Why or why not?
The benefit to it is it possibly will create faster response times in Ripon. However, from what I've been told by county level supervisors, that is a very, very minimal amount of time savings, like a few seconds. Whereas our outlay of expense to save those less than 10 seconds is quite high. Unfortunately, if that does change, Ripon would be laying off a handful of workers, which is very unfortunate. However, it may be a tough choice that needs to be made.
Thank you, Doug.
I think it was last budget cycle, I and several other councilmen went to the police chief and said, hey, could we do away with our dispatch center here and just transfer that to the county? Okay, well, here's the problem. First of all, the cost of that comes out of our levy and is permanently transferred to Fond du Lac County. Second of all, we're still going to need a few civilian employees to man the front desk to take the fines and stuff, because otherwise you have to bring an officer off patrol to take care of it. Okay, and chief wasn't in favor of that. Second of all, not only do we lose that property tax levy permanently, it's going to go up because our employees here are paid far less than they would be in Fond du Lac. So those people would probably find a job. Wouldn't really lose any. Those people really wouldn't lose a job. Few would stay here, and that levy part is going to go up so that they're paid the same as they are in Fond du Lac. So they go over to Fond du Lac, they're going to make more money, and that's going to come out of our levy. There might be $50,000 to $75,000 worth of savings there if we did that. That is an ongoing discussion, but we've been over this already. So it is something that would take a year to move over to Fond du Lac. And I don't see that happening right now, but I'm certainly open to, there's a substantial savings.
Okay, thank you. Doug, you're going to take the next question. Some have suggested that there are not adequate safeguards in place to ensure that city departments do not go over budget. Do you agree with this statement? What safeguards are in place, or what safeguards need to be added to ensure this doesn't happen?
I've been on the council for 4 years. I know what's happening in the budget. I know right now, for instance, at least it was a few weeks ago, our police department was over budget because, they have crime and overtime costs money. And so, we review the budget. We see what's being paid. And think of another one. We review this stuff every month. I talk to department heads. I know what's going on, and I know where they're at in their budget, because that's critical to make sure that there's enough money in that budget to carry through the end of the year. On the fire district, we're always asking the chief, how's the budget going this year? And so one of the efficiencies we did with the fire district was we did Squad 51. That saves money when they go out on a call, and it might be something else. He checks it out first, and the engine's held at the station. So, in fact, we don't have to pay that if they don't leave. So that's a good bit of a cost savings there. So we're always looking at the budget. I know all the department heads are always looking at the budget, and I've always encouraged them to come to the council, come to me if they have a problem, so we're not surprised at the end of the year. Our contingency fund is only $30,000 this year. It used to be about $100,000. So it's critically important that we don't have these surprises.
Like Doug said, there are some circumstances that just make it so that you can't adhere to a budget. For example, he said the crime for the police department, or for public works, if there's a major storm and there's a whole lot more cleanup than is required that wasn't budgeted for. At the current, I don't feel that the city is planning long enough ahead to the future. Like he said, there's only a $30,000 contingency fund for the entire city fund. It definitely should be enough to cover a catastrophic event, and not taking part in budgetary discussions before for the city. I don't know how much money that would necessarily need to be, but it would be certainly something I would work hard to develop.
Okay, you begin with the next one. Ripon will move to a fee-based recycling policy in 2021, I believe. Do you agree with this move? Why or why not? Are other options available to save taxpayers money?
In the short term, don't necessarily agree with the policy. However, I understand it. Currently, there's only one recycling contractor for the city pickups in the entire state. They managed to buy up all their competition so they could set their prices however they want. That's that, and the combination between that and the downturn in the value of recyclables has led to the rising costs. I would propose that we work with other communities to develop a publicly funded recycling system, whether that's town by town or county by county, where we can possibly do the pickups ourselves, possibly even the sort, and then the city or county could sell the recyclable material, because right now it's all single stream, which is a very high cost for processing, and the collecting companies charge that to us. They have a large labor force, and it's possible that if we use municipal workers, we may be able to save some money on that. And it was definitely something I am already exploring to see what possible options there are to save money on recycling. I've been partially in the recycling business for, I believe, 10 or 12 years now. So it's definitely something that I care a lot about and will work for to save the community money.
Thank you, Doug.
what is the discussion we had last year over recycling? One of the things that I discovered was that Department of Natural Resource regulations that apply to every community, any community over 5,000 people has to have curbside pickup. That then is expensive because then someone has to pick up that recycling. I honestly, because there's only one company that's picking this up, we don't have a lot of options. Personally, and I didn't see this in the regulations, I would ask for a waiver. I know a few communities around the state just ignore it, and they just have a central place to dump their recyclables. I would be happy with that, and then I think that would probably cost a lot less money, but I don't know that. They still might charge the same. And that was costing the city with the increase almost $100,000 a year. And I'm sorry, we just don't have it in our budget to pay for it. I wish we did. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to turn to the 2020 census. Doug, you're going to start with this one. The 2020 census is in progress. Currently, Wisconsin leads the nation in returning its information. Go, Wisconsin. Because the census is a complete count, it assists local municipalities such as Ripon with its shared revenue from the federal government. What would you do as mayor to promote participation of Riponites in the census in order to draw down more shared revenue? And that's, Doug, we're going to start with you.
Say it right now. Do your census. Our city needs it. I'm sorry, I haven't done mine yet, but I probably will do that in the next few days. But I've already said this, I believe in council. Do your census, please. It only takes a few minutes. Some people are going to have to do a long form. I have no idea how they're going to do that. But if there's a way, please do that also. We need to have accounts so that Madison will give us what we just, I don't want to say it like that, so that Madison will pay attention to us. Thanks.
Ed?
Like Doug, I would certainly just beat the drum and say that the census is very important. You must fill it out. I received mine in the mail, I believe, yesterday or the day before. I have not had a chance to fill it out myself. But I did see that they're encouraging people to do it online. I believe you can request the paper copy if you don't have access to internet. However, once this pandemic problem settles down a bit, if you still haven't done your census, you can do it online. The Ripon Public Library has computers available. If you do not have internet access or computers at home, I would definitely encourage people to take advantage of that once the library opens back up for public use. But it is absolutely imperative that you must fill out the census. It is the only way that the state and the federal government can tell how many people live here and distribute funds accordingly. And representation for government.
Yes, and as a member of Fond du Lac County's Census Complete Count Committee, whoever is elected mayor, I will be knocking on your door as soon as you are sworn in, because we can really use that drawdown on shared revenue to help reduce property tax. So it funds a lot of programs. All right, Ted, you're going to take this next question. In reviewing the 5-year capital improvement plan, there is a significant lack of infrastructure improvement listed. We've touched on this before. What ideas do you have to address the aging infrastructure in Ripon?
Well, I attended the council meeting on Monday, and they are the current council is actively seeking as many grants as the city can apply for funding for replacing roads and doing other projects. That is an excellent approach to getting funding because we don't have that much funding for street repair and other projects. One of my main goals will be to improve efficiency of the way the government of Ripon operates, try to reduce the amount of energy, electricity, natural gas, diesel fuel, everything on those lines. And by reducing energy usage, it does save us money. Currently, we are reducing the electric bill at the library by changing all of the light fixtures to LED. That'll be a proposed savings of about, I believe it's 30 to 40% off the electric bill. And it will probably also lower the air conditioning bill in the summertime because the lights run much cooler. There are many benefits to efficiency, and most of which it saves a lot of money. And that money that is saved can then be spent on infrastructure projects like repairing roads and bridges and maintaining parks and other infrastructure issues that we are currently facing.
Hey, Doug.
Thanks. Infrastructure has always been on the minds of the council. We don't have enough revenue to do the kind of road repair and infrastructure that we think is needed. However, hopefully in 2021, we'll do a $2 million road repair project over at Parkway in Vermont as an LMI neighborhood, low moderate income neighborhood. And we're using some low interest loans from the state, a couple of them. And we're going to use some of the TID 6 money to pay to help pay that down over the next decade. So that shouldn't cost the city anything. And hopefully we'll get some principal loan forgiveness of that project. That will mean that hopefully the about $450,000 that we spend a year will go to something else. And I just want to say something else right here, because this might not get told. Our budget this year is $48,000 less than it was in 2010. So if you're looking for efficiencies have already pretty much been squeezed out of the system for how we do work, how many people that we have working for the city. We have less people now than we did probably 15 years ago. Cities our size usually have more people in the front office. They're doing multiple work. Our street gang is doing a lot more work than they had to in the past. So these efficiencies, you're not going to find them. They're going to be very hard to get. And the electricity, yes, but you have to get the council to agree to pay for it. And why we don't have enough money for our roads, it's going to be very difficult to move them. I think we should change the LED light. I've talked about this with Lori quite a bit over the years. Let's have someone come in and check it out. The windows here in this council have been on the capital improvement budget for years, and it's about $50,000 to replace these windows to make it more efficient. Again, I thank you.
That we have time for me to ask you. They may be clumsy, and we may have to discuss them so that I'm not the best communicator in the world, so that they make sense. And then we will we'll try to go into closing remarks. So Doug, this first question is for you, and it's based upon answers from the question you just gave us. We talk about efficiencies, and I've worked in government for more than a decade, and I know the strain that governments can be under, and I know tight budgets, and I know the term efficiency makes me nervous. So the question is, and we'll begin with you, Doug, has the council and has the administration implemented lean policies in which you bring everyone together and you look per department for efficiencies, bringing in your line workers, the people who have delivered the services, and you look at how your equipment is utilized, and you streamline and you map how the services are delivered in order to find efficiencies and streamline things. Has this been done in Ripon? And if it hasn't, would you be willing to look at it? And are you familiar with lean concepts?
Yeah, a little bit. And I'm trying to understand how that would apply to our situation here. I know that our head of our DPW, he is working on budgeting for cemetery repair, like the columbarium is going to be something that will bring some income into the cemetery. Hopefully it'll get off the ground so that those dead trees could be cut down. we'll have something for that. And I don't think it's quite what you're talking about.
It's a systems change. It can save, particularly in highway departments in the county model, can save millions of dollars a year.
I would be happy to look at that. We might already be doing something similar to that. I know all the department heads get together and they talk with their employees. And I think that depends upon which department that is, because they're all a bit different.
It can be done in it's done in medical systems across the state. It's done in manufacturing across the state. It's done in government across the state. And I'm wondering if there's been an application at Ripon City government.
I would be willing to learn more about it. But like I said, I do believe a lot of the efficiencies have been squeezed out. There might be something that's laying on the table that no one has seen yet, but I definitely be looking at it, but I know we're doing more with less.
Okay. Ted.
One of my original platforms that I came up with when I started my run was to to meet with all the department heads to find out what they shouldn't be doing that they are, and compare all the departments to see if there are any overlaps and eliminate any overlaps, which there probably are very few. And then work with all the department heads together to find out if there are any places where, if Department of Public Works is doing something that a different department could do better or cheaper, to try to transfer the load to the more efficient department. What was the rest of your question?
I don't remember. It's that's the problem when you're just punting. It's an issue of a systems change. In what you're talking about is a systems change. Would you be interested in looking at a structure such as lean?
Yes.
To implement? Yeah. And I think I hear you both saying yes.
In fact, it sounds very similar to what I was planning on approaching the problem. Anyways, I did not realize it had a name called lean, but
there is a name to it.
All right.
There is a name to it. And I understand that there is a great deal of frustration right now at the local level with very short budgets.
Right. And I know our budget is tight, and Doug is right. We are running with a lot less people than we used to.
Right.
I know a big part of our budget problem is the health insurance for the employees. But I would like to review every department to find if there's any. I don't want to eliminate any staff.
Right.
But I'd like to see if there's an more efficient use of our equipment, or staff that could use the equipment more efficiently. That's what I mean by creating efficiencies. And I do not want to lay off any workers. I think we're short workers as it is.
Oh, thank you. And let me just say for the viewers out there, lean is not a top-down approach. It is not the partnership from the ground up. Then I have one last question, and this is based on something that Doug said much earlier in the forum. Years ago, and I'm very, very old, so I've been around a long time, you had talked about, if you were elected mayor, that you would be out promoting Ripon and visiting with potential people looking to locate businesses. Years ago, we used to have a group called the Ripon Community Development Corporation. And we worked on attraction and retention, and that group no longer exists. But we would say 80% of your efforts were spent on attraction and 20% on retention. The question is, and Ted, we're going to begin with you. Would you be interested in putting together a group like that again of city leaders in the school district and other community assets to meet with potential businesses looking to relocate, or help, say, Ripon College looking to, if they bring in a new president or a new superintendent of schools, to formalize it? That would be a first response team.
Yes, absolutely. When I first moved to town, it was 91, I believe. And when we moved here, I was in 8th grade, but I distinctly remember that there was not a welcome wagon committee, but I think it was more linked to the real estate agent that kind of gave you all the assets of the town. And on a residential level, I think that group of people that would spearhead that would possibly come from the real estate community, just for get them any materials and packets that they would need to promote coming to Ripon as opposed to a neighboring community. On the business level, to attract them, certainly work with Ripon Main Street for downtown retail or the Chamber of Commerce, get them involved in the committee to attract businesses. But yes, we definitely need a group that is promoting on a much more visible level. I know the ones that we currently still have, Chamber of Commerce, the real estate agents, Main Street, are working as hard as they can, but they have a limited time and budget for what they can do as well. I definitely would try to push for more involvement and just more ambassadors for the town, just to get more people to see what a nice place that we currently have and build a house or a business here.
Thank you. Doug?
Yeah, I think I put that in my candidate profile for on the newspaper, but yeah, I wanted to meet with, certainly I would set up meetings with Main Street and the Chamber, all the service organizations like Kiwanis and Rotary. I mean, they're big cheerleaders of the city. We have a lot of things coming down, and I know Habitat for Humanity is coming into town in the next couple of years, and they're going to be building those houses on Metomen, and they're going to be helping weatherize houses and stuff in the city. That was in the newspaper. And then those are coming. And so, yeah, I would meet with anybody and I would take them on. You want to meet with people at the college? I'm sure that could be set up. If a student wants to come in or family wants to come in, or maybe they want to move here, they want to see how good the schools is. I'm sure the school district would be happy to meet with them. So, yeah, I mean, I'm out and about. I go to meetings with meetings about city budgets and stuff. I'm always meeting new people and networking. And yeah, I think Ripon's a great place. And I think that would be a great idea if we get a group of people together that will work that will work. And I'd like to be a part of it.
Very good. Okay, closing remarks. 1 minute. Doug, we'll start with you. Why should people in Ripon vote for you for mayor?
I understand all the department heads. I've met with all of them. I know what our strengths and weaknesses are. I'm always finding out more. I've done four budgets with the city, 4 with the fire district, 4 with the library. I'm on the DPW committee. I know where the revenue is coming from, and I know why we don't have any. And I met with I continue to lobby and meet with our elected officials in Madison, either here in Ripon or down in Madison. I think I'm the best person to be mayor. I would treat everybody with, treat everybody well, and I would listen to everything. If someone has some efficient idea they want to bring to me, I'd be happy to listen to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ted?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you and all the citizens of Ripon for listening to us this evening and listening to and considering our views and experience. I feel that my experience in the business community, I know many of the people in town that own businesses, and just my experience working with budgets in the private sector. I know it's not a direct link to the public sector, but I would definitely bring those skills for the budgeting as well. And I just feel that I'm a calm, level-headed person that listens to all sides of the opinion and would work with everyone that had any questions. And I hope that you feel the same way too.
Thank you. I would like to thank both candidates and remind everyone that the general election is on Tuesday, April 7th, 2020. And I talked with Riley before the forum, and we will be getting together and doing a mini video to help people understand how to vote with an absentee ballot. because you do have to have a witness, and we will work to show people how to do that and how to maybe even register to get that absentee ballot. For more information on the local League of Women Voters of the Ripon area, please visit our Facebook page. Thank you all, and we're just going to wave. We're not going to touch anybody. We're just going to wave. Thank you all.